no matter what the situation is, if the U.S. government is cracking down on Huawei and has essentially blacklisted the company, there's obviously an impact from that. So as long as this export ban stays in place, is there a real threat to Huawei's survival as a company?
So, like all companies, we have business continuity plans in place. So far, the company is still thriving. We're still recruiting at previous rates. We're still growing. We hope to have, double-digit sales growth this year. But yeah, of course, we have lots of plan Bs in place. I mean, I suppose one of the big things at the moment is that we live in a very unstable and uncertain policy environment. So we are working very hard to come up with lots of different contingency plans.
And one of them surrounds operating systems, right? So you're rolling out or working on your own operating system, since your phones that you introduce won't be able to have the Google Android system. Maybe that changes at some point, but if that doesn't, your own operating system will be ready to roll out when? What's the timetable?
Well, unfortunately, I don't really have any information to share on that issue. As I say, it's part of a larger contingency plan that we might have in place. I really don't know, to be honest.
The other big issue, I think it's maybe the biggest issue, at least from analysts we speak to, is what's happening with chips, right, from semiconductors. So what's happening on this campus today? Are people working to develop your Huawei's own chips?
Yeah, so I think, there's lots of information in the latest annual report, but of course, we are always working on new innovations. We're one of the biggest investors in research and development in the world. According to the EU, we're the fifth biggest company in the world now in terms of research and development. So there's many spheres of research and technological areas that we're pushing forward on in terms of development. We do make our own chips, so there are chips that are put into our higher-end smartphones. Mm-hmm. But that's very much part of a global supply chain. I think it's a misnomer to think that there's independence of companies globally. All these products that we use every day, like our smartphones, our laptops, our pads, they're part of a much wider global supply chain. Components from many different countries around the world. Right. So they're global products. So the elements that we produce are only a very small part of that global supply chain.
And for a person watching in the United States, they might say, this doesn't affect me at all. Huawei, I read about it, I hear about it, but they don't have a huge footprint in the United States. You're saying there could be an impact from what the U.S. government is doing to Huawei on Americans. What's that impact? What does it actually look like?
Well, the impact is that Huawei is actually a big consumer of American technology products. So our procurement budget in the US alone is $11 billion a year. So stopping Huawei being able to interact with those technology partners that it's built relationships with for a couple of decades will mean that they are lost export sales, and they can't be picked up by other companies. So that estimate is 56 billion, and that 56 billion includes 74,000 jobs. Now, that might be in those kind of technology sectors, but clearly a fall in export sales for the USA will have multiplier effects on many other jobs within the US economy.
Let me ask you this. What if all of that is true, and President Trump looks at it and says, I'm willing to sacrifice those near-term losses for American companies because he believes this effort against Huawei is for the greater good? Then what? Then what happens to Huawei?
Well, Huawei will invest its research and development funds and its activities in those countries where it's more welcome. So restricting competition in any market ultimately always means that customers suffer.
Right.
So the USA, in constraining competition in several markets, if it goes down that road, is a strategy that essentially will backfire on consumers. Consumer prices will rise.
You're right. And my question is, what if the United States government and the President of the United States is willing to make that sacrifice? There have been many articles written about ZTE when the similar ban was in place, that if that ban wasn't lifted, ZTE would have been put out of business. Isn't the same true for Huawei?
The situation at Huawei is very different because it's not so dependent on those kind of on those kind of those issues. Okay, in terms of the market presence, ZTE's market presence in the USA was much bigger. Our international operations are much more expansive than ZTE's. So it's a very different kind of play. In terms of the sacrifice, well, it's a sacrifice that if the US is willing to make, it's something that's not being copied or picked up by other countries around the world. So clearly, you know, the UK, Germany, the European Union have looked at the costs against these other types of issues and have decided that they want to keep working with Huawei.
Final thing on the 5G rollout, we've talked about it a little bit, but what's happening to the timetable of the global rollout of 5G technology because of, I guess, the dispute between Huawei and the United States government, or the crackdown on Huawei by the United States government? What's the actual impact been on 5G's rollout globally?
So far there seems to be little impact in terms of rollout. So lots of countries around the world are testing their 5G networks. There is a national network that's live now in Korea, I believe in Switzerland as well, the UK. So many countries are developing their networks. We'll really see the full global development in 2020. We'll really start going live. A lot of it depends on the handsets and other devices in terms of their 5G capability. But everyone is still pushing ahead, and we're working with many partners around the world.
Not in the United States, though.
Not in the United States, but...
So has the United States fallen behind?
To my knowledge, it hasn't fallen behind. But I think, you know, the risk is, if there is a complete constraint in many markets on 5G from Chinese equipment manufacturers, then there are estimates that this will lead to a lag in the rollout of 5G of between 18 months and 2 years. So there's a real risk that all the benefits that we expect to gain and all the economic advantages of 5G will be delayed the more companies and competition is restricted around the world.